recording in here, so I've got that. And I'll get the encoder up and running. So I got that. And
I was watching this channel called Legal Eagle, and there were some lawyers who were in their bathrobes during depositions. So.
Nice. Right, here we go.
In Florida, but. Hello and welcome to the Retro Detroit Nerdfighters podcast. My name is Ian the Well-Informed, and I'm here with Bill the Philibadger.
And I think if our fans whine enough, we might release a director's version of this podcast to HBO Max in a couple of years. What do you think, Ian?
What's HBO Max?
It is kind of the Max version of HBO, as far as I understand it. Kind of HBO attempting to get in on the streaming pie, which is gonna.
Which they already have with HBO Go and HBO Now. But yeah, let's go ahead and launch a third one just for giggles. Yeah.
And I'm totally confused about what's on it, what's not on it. Is it HBO Go, HBO Now with additional stuff? Is it the same stuff? Is it a different vertical slice of the stuff? So I'm all confused.
Oh, it has Max Payne and there's one other it has Mad Max basically, but it's all the shows that have Max in the title.
Okay, and only those shows.
Yes, only those.
Doesn't seem worth $15 a month, but the things are all upside down right now. So, I guess.
I don't know. I'm one to just observe and see what happens. To be honest, don't know if it's going to be a fire or not. Just observing from the
no
outside.
No comments right now. That's probably the best thing right now.
Yeah. Speaking of just observing, Dave, been watching. You've been playing a lot of a game called what's it called? Star Wars Episode 1 Racer.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yes. You love that game with a passion, correct?
I basically forgot how much that movie redeemed Episode 1 for me.
It did for me too. The first time I played that game was back when Blockbuster was still around. I picked it up. I played it for 5 hours, beat it, and I was like, I want to buy this game, but I don't. I wish I had enough money for it and can't find it anywhere. So
yeah, no. Honestly, one of the cool things to me that I like about it is that if you've got two controllers hooked up to it and you're playing single player, you can control both engines independently with the two controllers, which in some cases you almost have to do to pull off some of those turns. But yeah, I mean, I've been spending all this time hooking up all these retro gaming systems, and just going through them and like, oh my God, I was addicted to this one. Oh my God, I was addicted to this game. Oh my God, I was addicted to this one. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And when you get done with that game, I'm going to hold you to Mother 3, because it's one of those games that I know you'll like, but I'll warn you, it's something that you have to take your time on to understand. And I would say Earthbound and Mother 3 are both in my top 10, and Mother 3 has like the best story I've ever seen. So
I think the next one I'm going to dive into when I get bored of that is going to be Rogue Squadron on the same platform, because I haven't played it yet, but I just remember being just amazingly addicted to that one too. So
my brother played that game and he loves that game. I have not, though. I've heard great things about it.
And I missed out on the N64 entirely, so that's just one system I never got into.
honestly, the only reason I bought it back in the day was because the Episode 1 game was coming out and Rogue Squadron was coming out. And I mean, it was just, and then I mean, Shadows of the Empire is the other one that I picked up. That was, you know, kind of that novel in between Empire and Jedi. That was a good RPG. And so yeah, I mean, it was a decent little platform. I mean, I love the graphics. It's nice seeing it up on the flat screen and that kind of stuff. It still looks good. So yeah, I mean, it's worth checking out. I mean, you can find them pretty cheap on like Facebook Marketplace or wherever else these days.
I mean, N64, I'm somewhere in the middle. N64, there, out of all the systems I've ever had, is the system that I've had the least amount of games with. But then again, there is one game that there is Ocarina of Time, which is the game that got me back into gaming. Just because, it's this 3D world and you can grab items and and it's for the most part non-linear. So, but yeah, just one of the platforms that I don't have a lot of games on. But
all right, well, I am getting summoned by my daughter to go make breakfast and get off my ass, so I'll be back in a few.
All right, sounds good. But no, like, let's see a date. All right. So, Phil, have you heard of a game on Facebook called Hero Wars?
Hero Wars. No, I don't think I have. Is this the Marvel versus DC game that I've built up in my dreams and would actually, but I know will never come to be in real life?
No. It's this game on Facebook that I swear I see like one out of every, you know how you have the infinite scroll on Facebook? And I mean, I see this game on my feed like once every maybe 35 posts, something like that, somewhere in that range. It's one of those games that, you solve a puzzle and that, hey, this small puzzle, and then you go on. Where you're this guy in armor, and you try to defeat this goblin, or you try to save this princess, or you're just trying to grab the loot.
I think I've seen those. It's basically a puzzle. It's like a puzzle game of how do you block the hazards and allow the hero to get to his goal. Is that basically it?
Yep, exactly.
And then is that the one also where the ads are nothing like what the real game is like?
Yes, exactly. It's nothing like.
Like I would play that puzzle game.
Yeah, but then I come across YouTube. No, I go across Twitter actually, and I see another game. It's the same exact game, same exact graphics, same exact everything, but it has this
that has a different
short
name,
little
right?
lady. This short little lady that replaces the guy in armor, and it's called Hustle Castle.
Oh yeah, I think I've
And
seen that ad too, and I think I actually tried out Hustle Castle way, way, way back, and that's not the Hustle Castle I played.
there was another Hustle Castle.
I think so. Yeah, I think my vague memory of Hustle Castle is because it's kind of like the Fallout Shelter game back in the day. Do you
Okay,
remember Fallout Shelter?
I've seen gameplay of it,
Okay.
but not played it. Yeah, not more I could do.
Hmm.
But no, I just find it interesting that these like these gameplay trailers are showing the same. These games are showing the same trailers, basically.
Hmm.
Is it? Um, I'm kind of interested in seeing what is it, the feud between both of them, and how both of them are. One of them is false advertising, while the other one is false advertising on a false advertising game.
See, I kind of just pictured that meme of the two Spider-Man pointing at each other, where it's both the same thing.
Exactly. Oh, that's a perfect summation.
Hmm.
Either that or what's his face, Leonardo DiCaprio in Inception, where they just go through the layers and you
Uh-huh.
find out, oh, he's yeah. But
And then the spinning top falls over, and nobody knows what that means, even though I think it was explained in the movie at one point what that meant. So
it, it's all in our dreams. But
hmm the whole
uh,
world is a dream.
the whole the whole the whole world is kind of a fever dream right now. So that's
Sure
but
is.
yeah, I don't. Um, yeah, nothing.
But
Nothing
hey,
more.
we're getting the Snyder cut finally.
We're getting the Snyder cut for Justice League.
Yeah,
Now, what is Justice League? I know
well,
what it is.
well, for those in our audience who weren't paying attention, Justice League was DC Comics and Warner Brothers very very feeble attempt to mimic the success of the MCU and the Avengers, and they tried to get there by skipping steps and and basically putting it all on the shoulders of Zack Snyder, who I admit, he's a capable filmmaker, but not a good architect for a long series of films. And um, if you like Zack Snyder, then yeah, that's kind of your thing. But if you don't, then DC Universe doesn't really have much to offer you.
I mean, I really like their animated stuff, like like I see trailers for like the Harley Quinn movies, the animated
Hmm.
Harley Quinn movies. um, there is a lot of um, just like in games, you want the writers and you want the people who are making this creation to have more fun than the what's it called, the audience themselves, because because the audience can tell, oh, this is a, the people will be able to tell that they wanted to put a lot of love into it.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was not happening with the DC movies. Um, since Justice League, I think they've improved, and one of the things they've done too, which I think is good, bodes well, is they're actually bringing in other people other than Zack Snyder to make the movies, and I think that's one of least talked about aspects of the success of the Marvel movies is they have a wide variety of filmmakers covering a wide variety of genres, but they're all coming together in a grand vision. And I think DC's learning that lesson, and I think their movies are getting better.
Yeah, it just takes time. I mean, I'm the DC movies that extend Justice League, I kind of want to what's it called? Want to see a good movie from them before I go to start watching the other ones, because I know like spoiler warnings, like the plot line of Martha and from that movie, and yeah, I want to watch those before I do anything like that. I want to see a good movie from the DC universe before any of that. And did you say that the Snyder Cut is out, or?
No, it's coming next year, and to kind of explain what that is all about. Zack Snyder was in the process of making Justice League and finishing that up when he had a family tragedy that required him to leave that project, and DC brought in Joss Whedon to kind of finish it up.
Okay.
And then when that movie didn't do very well, there was a rumor that was started that basically, if Zack Snyder had been allowed to finish the movie, and been able to finish it, what he would have brought to the screen would have been much, much better. I don't know if it would or wouldn't be. I haven't actually seen Justice League, really have no interest in it. But basically, here we are, after years of denying it existed, the Snyder Cut's being finished and it's coming to HBO Max next year.
Okay.
It's something basically that the internet has willed into existence, and is a reward for fanboys being a little whiny, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Just like Sonic movie. Which, have you seen that yet?
I have not. I've heard it's good. I'm sure since the movie, a lot of movie releases are kind of going by the wayside. I expect it to clean up at the Oscars next year. So we'll see how that goes.
There is a lot of tribute to Sonic fans, hardcore Sonic fans. Like, I'm not spoiling anything. That there's one point where they show a picture and it looks like this infamous character called Sonic the Hedgehog. So,
I think I've heard what that's about. I'll have to wait and see that. I do want to check that movie out at some point. So
yeah, I personally, I've seen it. I personally like that movie quite a bit. Worth watching again. But yeah, a lot of trolling in that movie. I really like the supporting. I've said it before last time that I really like the supporting character. He goes by the name of Donut Lord in that movie.
Oh,
because every time,
not familiar with Donut Lord.
Because he's the person that every time he goes off his shift, he's a police officer, he goes to eat a donut. So,
Gotcha.
so, yeah. Speaking of trolling, have you do you use TikTok?
No, I do
I'm
not.
I'm happy for you, and I'm happy for me too, because for people who don't know, it was made. TikTok was made by the same was made by the people who made Musically, and then they changed their name. They changed their name to TikTok. Um, but over the last, I'd say, couple weeks, there's this new challenge called the Autism Challenge. So I ask you, Phil, do you think that that's a good challenge or a bad challenge?
That sounds awful.
That sounds awful. You'd be absolutely right.
Knowing how sensitive users of the internet are, it just sounds terrible.
Yes, it's normal people making making fun of people who have autism by purposefully doing stemming, moving around their arms and things like that, trying to act like someone with autism. And it's just, I'm not going to send the link to anyone, but it's kind of absolutely horrible.
Yeah, it just sounds awful. I guess maybe because I'm not on TikTok, I've missed out on this, and now I'm glad I never checked it out.
I mean, I've been having a really busy week, and then I find out about this, and I have to. I ended up talking to a good amount of my friends, a good 30 to 50 people who didn't know about it, and being like, "Oh, this is a thing now." So it just a little bit out of my, a little bit. I didn't want to waste that much time on messaging people.
Yeah, I think we've talked
this.
about it, for any more than it ever needs to be talked about again, except to say that it's awful. Don't go near it.
If you go
Kill it
near
with
it,
fire. Kill it with fire if you have to.
if you do go near it, please put good memes in there. Like, not like someone with autism doing a great accomplishment or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But like, if you're going and if you're trying to make fun of somebody with an invisible disability, then that's kind of ignorant. That's kind of really spiteful. But yeah, that's what I have to say on it. But yeah, but let's change it back to games. Did you hear about Nintendo Switch and how they're putting out more and more indie games?
I mean, I know indie games are getting a big push on the Switch, and some of them do quite well. Is there a shady side to the story that we're going to cover?
Yes. What's happening now is that Switch is now becoming more and more like looking more like Steam now.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
They are having they had their first asset flip game.
And for those, how would you describe an asset flip game?
An asset flip game is, my definition is, you buy a software for its demo and then selling that demo for a price on the system.
So you buy a demo of, say, like the Doom demo back in the day, and you strip the game of its assets and you package them up into your own game and sell that. Is that kind of close?
Yeah, exactly. It's like taking a game that already exists and then a demo that exists on the Switch is just you can use that tool to make a game, and instead of using the tool to make a game, you instead of building on it, you just take those basic assets and sell them.
Oh, okay. So if I buy a developer tool, there's probably a demo game, so I can see how the assets work in a real implementation. But instead of building on that, I just package up that demo and gotcha. Oh, that sounds awful.
Sorry for the non-emotion. It just, we've talked about this before. We generally don't like it when these type of games get onto a platform, because then you blur the line between finding a good game on your system and finding the game you want, and then this has a better chance of getting found, and it makes it so the good games have less of a market now.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, you have to pay more advertising and things of that nature.
Well, and the Switch eShop isn't the best to begin with for discovery of new games you might be interested. It's becoming one of those kind of online markets where you kind of have to know what you're looking for before you ever go there, and that's a problem.
And even then, it's still when you build indie games like this, you have to have moderators. You have to stuff like this happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's
you gotta have a decent moderation and curation systems, so that stuff like this doesn't slip through.
But it's unfortunate, and all we can do from here is just say, contact Nintendo and say, you have a game on your system that's asset flipping. Please remove it if you can. And no, there was a little bit of news about on YouTube acquiring a certain streamer.
I hadn't heard about this. Go ahead, tell us about it.
Hey, you know that Ninja went to Mixer, right?
and I don't think I've heard anything about him since.
Yeah, I've literally heard nothing from him since either. Um, but because places like Mixer are grabbing up talent to be on certain platforms, now YouTube is signed a contract with PewDiePie to make sure that he would be the face of YouTube, basically.
Oh,
It's
okay.
so that to make sure that he sticks with YouTube and doesn't move to like Twitch or things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So now, so now, my personal opinion is good on YouTube. I you need to YouTube really needs to try and because what's it called? Minecraft is coming has had a pretty big surge. Acquiring Blue Zethos or the Yogscast because they know how to create content around Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
They're some of the funniest. Them and I think I think I'm getting this right. Another channel called White Boy 7th Street.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them.
They would do Minecraft and Call of Duty streams. He would. But yeah, guys like that have a that have different audiences that would be good for the platform in spite of their sometimes controversial videos.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I know Yogscast is pretty clean. They're known for being pretty clean, but what else? I personally want to see what's his face, Dr. Disrespect, be the face of Twitch, just for shits and giggles. But have you heard of him before?
I've heard of him. Let's just say a name like Dr. Disrespect tells me what I'm in. I take that as to what I'm in for, and it's not my jam.
No, I personally want to see. I want to see him be the face, but he's not my type of content either. I've tried to watch, and I simply cannot. I'm more along the lines of watching someone like Maximilian Dude, or even though he's, I don't agree on a couple things he's done in the past, but him and other Mario Maker streamers,
Mm-hmm.
because they have, because Mario Maker community has a great community.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
Great
good.
people, but
Yeah, and I've heard of this Maximilian guy. Think he talks a lot about. I know he's talked a lot about the Final Fantasy VII remake, and I haven't checked out anything he said, but I know he's talked a lot about it. So
he's he's talked about your background, the Final Fantasy VII remake. So, I'm not sure if you have started playing it, but have you played the remake yet?
yeah, I've actually finished it, at least up to the point that it's been released. You know, waiting another 5 years for part 2 to come out.
I mean,
I don't really have a good picture of how. Hold on.
hello. I got you. Yeah, that's fine. You're still muted. I got you.
Oh, I knew I was muted.
Okay. Now, do you have a green screen? I've been wanting to put something in my background, but
No, I don't. I don't have a green screen. The Zoom software seems to do a pretty good job of recognizing you, and then superimpose that over whatever virtual background you chose.
I mean,
So.
on my end, it's not working at all. I'm trying to get a certain picture that you'd absolutely love, but but
Now I want to see it.
Yeah, it's probably the picture for the stream, but I'm not. But it just doesn't fit. Nothing more I can do, but yeah. I know. I mean, let's see. We've talked about asset flipping. Oh, we've talked about Autism Challenge, which is a train wreck. Talked about YouTube, the Snyder Cut, the Final Fantasy remake. Let's see.
Xenoblade Chronicles comes out next week, the definitive edition for Switch, which I'm excited about.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I need to pick that up. I need to go to my local Target and pick that up. Like, that's a must. But then I've had friends who are like, please play Smash Brothers, play Smash Brothers. And I'm like, I gotta play that too. So many games and so little time.
And no, and when you're still working during and when you're still working during these pandemic times, you don't quite get the time to play games that you'd like.
Yeah, and it's like, you're still working from home.
Yep.
And if you're working out in the field, like retail, you're you could be working 40 hours. You could be spending working 50 hours, 60 hours even. And there is no room for there's not much room for anything.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
unless you dedicate a day to, say, schooling or things of that nature.
Yeah, that's I mean, I've taken a couple of days off, from my job to play the Final Fantasy VII remake. Only one, but not something I'm going to do all the time.
Yeah, but that game is worth playing. Speaking of jobs and things like that, our unemployment rate is at getting close to 1 out of every 5 people, if I'm not mistaken. And in Michigan, it's more than 1 out of every 5. It's last I checked, which was a few weeks ago, it was at 21%.
Yeah, it's getting up there. It's going to be a mess for quite a while.
I mean, like, there were times in my life, like, you wouldn't know, like, from 2012 to 2013, I was without a job. And it's kind of ironic that I'm, I just find it ironic that out of all this, I'm one of the people who has one. That
I mean, fortunately, unemployment's never been something I've ever had to deal with. So,
unemployment is its own effing beast.
that's what I hear.
I had a friend who was like, "I've never been on unemployment. Ian, please help." And I'm like, from an unemployment standpoint, for our audience members who are, it's a never use Martin. No, I said Martin. Never use Marvin. Because say you were to find a job within a couple weeks from now, if you were, and say it's like minimum wage or $13 or $14 an hour and it's part-time, Marvin is prone to mess up the check that you're supposed to receive. So use MyWam, MIWAM. For the most part, it won't mess up unless there's, say for instance, something like Kroger. If you get like a bonus check along those lines, it may mess up and you have to do something special for it.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, yeah, just receiving unemployment, they make those questions to essentially make people mess up. And after you get used to it and you become successful once, it becomes a lot easier. But those first few times when I first got unemployment, I messed up like royally. There were a couple questions that are meant to throw you off. Other than that, yeah, there are people who are on unemployment that are making more than people who are essential workers. And I would say, just to be devil's advocate, good for them, because I mean, this is their one and only time.
Right.
Because, I mean, this is it is the one time where they can make sure that, when they come back, they'll have ample money to get back into the job force and just generally have they'll have an easier time. There's less risk of them like losing like their housing and things of that nature. Yeah. But do you have you ever watched Addams Family Values?
No, I haven't.
I was just throwing that out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This time, they say this is the darkest timeline. So
That's what it feels like.
I'm happy for this podcast. I'm happy that everyone here has a job, and yeah.
And everyone's taking care of their mental health, hopefully.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, I personally, I do like staying introverted, but then again, I can't stand. I love staying busy. I can't stand what's it called? Not to do things.
Right.
And to just so there is a certain amount of certain amount where I need to go out and talk with people, and that's why kind of retail is my thing for the moment.
Right.
But yeah. What else? So is there any other games outside of like Xenoblade Chronicles that look worth playing right now?
Well, I've gone back to, I don't know if you've heard of a game called Axiom Verge. That's what I've been playing since I finished the Final Fantasy VII remake. It's basically on every platform, and it's kind of like it's a Metroidvania kind of game. Got an interesting story. The game itself was made by pretty much just one person, and it's interesting to
So
see what one person can do with endless amounts of time and dedication. I don't think
so
I'd
what
ever have the ability to make an Axiom Verge all by myself. Go ahead.
so what you're saying is it's the Atari 2600 game ET, but with infinite more time.
Yeah, I think this game took like 4 years for the guy to complete, and it's quite a lot. It's a lot better.
Good. I've heard good things about it. I haven't played it before. But
I think it's on sale this week in the Switch eShop if you want to pick it up. And I kind
not
of wanted to dive back into that one because I know there's an Axiom Verge 2 that's coming out later this year. So it was highlighted in an indie showcase that Nintendo put out back in March, I think. So
yeah. We'll see if I have time. But
oh, it's the biggest question, isn't it?
yeah, with other people, hey, go ahead, play it. You have my recommendation. but me, I do have a little bit of good news. Good news, bad news for me, though. I'm going back to school.
Oh yeah.
Going to be taking classes like Microsoft Office Professional certification and going back to take the dreaded class that is the CISSP. And what that stands for is the Certified Information Systems Security Professional.
Ooh, that's a mouthful.
Yes. And probably about half a dozen more classes and half a dozen more certification tests over the next 1 to 2 years. So between that and that,
yeah, you're not going to have time
that
for
and
much of
this,
anything.
I'll still have a little bit of time, but in terms of like games and stuff like that, maybe like an hour or two a week, something like that. Still, yeah, something I need to do. Make sure that I stay in technology and yeah, because I love it. And yeah, that's the next. I'll have to share this kind of on stream, see if there are people who know about all these concepts and things. But yeah, a little bit of a change here. But yeah. What else? I don't have much anything else. Do you have anything else, Phil?
No, not really. I think I'm out.
I do want to, with the remake, have you played the original before?
I played the original back in my college days, and I knew I didn't remember much about it at all. I don't think I've actually played the original since my college days. So the remake is basically all new.
Yeah. I mean, how is the like the battle system? I mean, I hear that it's and how does it play?
It plays a lot like an action game. Kind of, it does. I think in the past we've described it as similar to Final Fantasy 15, and I think that's an apt comparison. Maybe a little bit more refined. You can play it in a style that's more like the original game if you choose. I didn't try that out, so I don't know how accurate it is, but it's there.
I mean, from what I've heard, the Final Fantasy VII played like Chrono Trigger. It's active, while this is more of
it's more like a hack and slash.
It
kind of feels like a slower Devil May Cry.
Okay, and I've seen gameplay of DMC. How is it in difficulty though?
I didn't find it that difficult. There were a couple of battles I had to do a couple of times to get through, but I didn't find it overly hard. But I did play it on the normal difficulty, so take that for what it's worth.
So you'd say it's
a good challenge.
It's a 3D. Should I say? Yeah, it's a 3D. Not as hard Cuphead, basically, where people have their different skills. Yeah, one I know shoots projectiles while others use magic, or of course we all know about the Buster Sword that Cloud uses. But minor spoiler for those who haven't played it or seen it.
Or seen the cover.
Yeah. Which is basically no one in our audience. But yeah. Yeah, I know that I will keep watching what's it called? I'll keep watching trailers, basically, of it and see where it goes, and because I have seen I've made you familiar with Team 4-Star, right?
Yes.
There is a series out there called Final Fantasy VII Mission Abridged that does the same casting and things like that, where it plays with the original, but it puts voices on the characters and makes it more centric to the Team 4-star formula.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend watching it. It's probably one of the few things that I've taken time out of to watch because the voice acting is very good, especially I would say like my favorite character in that is Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's all I have. Should we
Oh, I'm here.
do want to do closing?
Yeah, I think we can wrap this up, Ian.
All right. So Phil, where can we find you?
Same place you've been able to find me the last 2 months or so. Waiting for Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah. You can find me on this podcast on SoundCloud and now on YouTube too. I'm going to plug our YouTube a little bit more now because it's been a while since I've created content on there. But yeah, you can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, and also at einformed.com, informed with an A. And as always, don't forget to be awesome. Don't forget to stay home if you can.
And wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Keep your nose clean.
Don't touch your face.
Don't touch your face, which I've been doing this entire stream. Yeah, and thank you.
Well, it's hard for me to not touch my face because my hair is getting so long and I look like a 90s rocker.
I'm trying to, it's getting there. Like my hair is getting to look more like Mr. Satan from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
That's what I'm trying
now.
to go for that. I'm getting there.
I think you're there. I think you're there.
Yes.
All right.
I have the shirt and cape, so yeah. All right. Thank you, and stay safe, stay home, and also happy Memorial Day for all the veterans and the people who have served our country. Yeah, that I should have. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.